Welcome to tonight's Pragmagick Liminalstream. I'm your poor revelator, Keats Ross, and tonight we will be transdimensionally wayfaring through the hyperconnectivity of the modern internet age and discuss what works and what hurts the inward search when the world is at your fingertips. As always, I naturally gravitate to the folks who ooze their art, their ouvre with everything they do. Only sometimes they are ones who decide to usher enlightenment through wonderful caverns of metaphysics and purpose. Tonight is one of these times, twicefold. Niish is a mystical chanteuse bellowing the beauties of a wide artistic pantheon, host of the wonderful Cosmic Salon podcast, co-host of the brilliant Nox Mente and Obelisk shows, and more importantly, a brilliant artist, seeker, and dear friend. Niish, how are you?
Excellent. And I am so thrilled. You are two of my favorite men's in the whole world. I love being the filling in the sandwich for sure.
I like it.
So
There you go.
thanks for having me on.
And last but certainly not least, Mr. Derek Hunter, the revelator of the love chaos anti-dogmatic philosophy of life, a writer of chaos riddle prose, a composer, and another dear friend who for the first time gets to transcend the liminal stream and this first ever discussion triangle, or threesome, as he likes to call it. Derek Hunter, how are you, sir?
Hey, what's up? Good evening to you both. This is something that we've, as you guys know, we wanted to do for a while. I'm not sure whose idea it was to do this, but whoever it was, the other two of us jumped right in and thought it was a fantastic idea.
You're right. It was almost like a hive mind. I don't remember the seeds of it either. I think all three of us were very excited.
We're like, let's do this.
Yeah, we were definitely thinking about it at the same time. So it just was a matter of who was going to suggest it first.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. The seed has been sown. I do want to talk a little bit about the title, because we're going to be enveloped in a lot of, meta discussion about just the weight and the whims of social media and this day and age. And I wanted to maybe give a little bit of definition about metaphysics. Now, metaphysics used to mean the root causes or the ponderances of eternal things, as opposed to physics, which is the study of ordinary causes of ordinary things. And with that, I just want to talk about the metaphysics of the eternal search, the communion with the quote unquote other, and transcendence as a whole within the social media age. Is social media a bane or a beaut, a tool, or just literal candy? And when it comes to using it to find the others, I think, in full disclosure, it is both. So let's discuss what hurts and what works in the Google search for the soul. And thank you for letting me get that corny out.
Yeah, this is a deep ponder. And it's certainly one of those things that brought me forth this time in my life after having been forward a few times. But it was one of those things, the search for the other is a new age, which brings me forward. I don't think I'd been public since I had my Warner Brothers contract back in the 90s and was really pushing that. And so when I came forward, I really wanted to find my people, my tribe. And it's been very fruitful because here you two are, and we've created this bigger network. All the people that I have encountered through doing this has proven to me that no matter what the downfalls are, what the pitfalls are, like on any journey in life, they're out there and we do find each other, whether this is a frequency thing, the words find the others. However, there is a lot of poisons and pus, know?
Yeah, we
and
talk
don't
about
get
this
that
a lot.
sticky foot of poison. Ooh wee.
No. Sticky foot of poison. Well, Derek and you, Niish, have been definite lights in that. I think both of you found semblances of a rhythm of like an ability to churn goodness and prosperity through the connections that you've made online. And with the advent of, the virus that should not be named, we're kind of all harking on that. And so I really wanted to take a deep dive as a personal person, that makes sense, as a personal proponent of social media, whether it be in business or in connectivity, and talk about, the hurts, and the haunts of it, because it is a tricky subject. But I feel like both of you, and Derek especially, has found like a really good rhythm with it.
Well, I think that it's something that I don't think any. I think one of the things that's is great about it is that I think it's because it is such a relatively new phenomenon, um, at 20 years old, is that people like us, like the three of us, who and you guys have really, in a lot of ways, have shown a way of how you can make it work. But what I really like about the internet is that it doesn't necessarily level the playing field at all, but even like people who have a lot of notoriety, who have a lot of public, say, value, out there in the world, who have a name, basically, um, they have to kind of navigate their way through it, and certainly with a lot more help than the three of us do. But they're in order for them to be effective, it's something that they have to be creative, in ways that is, again, only about 20 years old. And I think for people like the three of us who are imaginative and can find ways to interest people and to engage people, it can be a great tool. And I know from my own experience, most of my experience as a creative person has been in struggle. I have most of my experience has been in rejection, and in trying to find my way into the door. For a period of time, it was filmmaking, and that was a struggle. And just trying to get my foot in any kind of door in that field was very difficult. Then I when I switched gears and went into writing fiction, that was another door where I couldn't get my foot into any door at all. Another field where I couldn't get my foot into any door, and so it was just like a lot of struggle, year after year of struggle. And then with the internet, it still continued to be difficult, for sure, but primarily it was through getting involved in the occult, and I think, meeting people like the two of you, first you, Keats, and then through you, Keats, meeting Niish. And it's really, I think, the difference for me, from my own experience, from what's been going on these last few years compared to the previous 15 to 20 years, is that I've been able to find the people, to find the others, to it wasn't necessarily about stepping into a door where there was like a secret meeting going on with people that were
Right.
in the know. It was more just about finding other people who were just as excited about life as I was, and making it work. And then just one thing opening up after another, really made it, I think, a lot more of made things like work in such a way where I could finally reach people. And it's still on a small scale relatively, but it's definitely on a scale where uh, I feel a lot more uh, good about the work that I'm doing in terms of it affecting a lot of people. And
Yeah.
it is primarily because of the internet.
I was going to say this too about this idea that I do think separating the wheat from the chaff has been kind of easy, because there's something about a parasocial self-image you put out there. Meeting you and Niish, like it's uncanny how you can find the anarchic magics of people. And Niish and I talk about this all the time, where you can absolutely see, and maybe this is the wrestle with aestheticism or trend, you can see who is not genuine, you know.
Right, right. And I think that's where the leveling, the playing the field is really where what happens, is that when you see that people with a big name, they're basically having to expose themselves in ways where they didn't have to expose themselves. You know, whether it be on a podcast or doing posts or whatnot, they kind of have to reveal more of themselves.
Right.
And you know, there's less hiding to do. And so, if you can be creative with how you put yourself out there, and primarily being genuine with what you're doing, then I think that's where you can make the real connections. You know, and I always, from an early age, like, I didn't want to find any kind of success unless it was done in a genuine way. I didn't want it to be where I was doing something with the intention, knowing that it was somehow going to be something that would appeal to a lot of people.
Why not? What's the problem? No, I'm just kidding.
So, you know, I think the whole thing of being genuine and being open and being honest is certainly where you can use the internet in your advantage.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that it certainly, I think you will find there's definitely hurdles to jump over, because one of the, you know, I don't know if we want to talk about the negative side yet, but one of the things that I have found is that, say for example, you know, posting in different places on social media, and so many people are promoting their work, and so many people are being barraged with different people's, you know, music or films or books or podcasts or whatever. You know, there's just so much being pushed out there on the internet that people want to take an opportunity to jump on and attack if you happen to be, you know, promoting your own work, because, you know, people see that, oh, here comes a self promoter, here comes someone who's trying to
Right.
push their work, and people are much more willing to be really nasty on the internet. Whereas if you were to do that in person, they wouldn't have the guts to say the things that they would say online.
Well, it brings me to an idea too. I was thinking about this for Niish, because me and Niish talk about words all the time. Words used, you know, that are now kind of transformed as tags or categories of things, to like these hyper search options. But what always weirded me out too within social media are the words follow, subscribe, you know, all things. I think in the metaphysical process are two major words that I've always battled against, like when it comes
Right.
to beliefs outside, you know, or, you know, anything really, to not subscribe, to not follow. And Niish and I always talk about words, and I was thinking about her when I was thinking about this today, and I wanted to know, I'm sure you've picked up on this all the time, Niish.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And it's definitely, I think a lot of us struggle with how to approach those ideas. It puts me off when I see the heavy spell work of commanding people what to do. And it's in very interesting ways that it becomes this mind virus out in the collective. Subscribe, like, and
Right.
share. You know,
Yeah.
it's like that may be innocent, and yet at the same time, it's actually a command. And so, for as innocent as it is, we do need to become conscious of what we're saying to people and the messaging that we're putting forth.
Yeah. And in a way too, it's kind of dumbed down. Like subscribe was one of the S words that like I battled against as a youth. Subscribe, subservient, you know, safe, you know, these words that keep coming up where they trigger something in me that makes me want to but if anything, the social media has dumbed those down to not really mean something as hard or as harsh,
Right.
you know. So there's something there to that.
And at the same time, though, it still holds that same value.
Right.
And that's part of the trickery that's going on with the way the language is becoming usurped. And like one of the things I'm doing right now on the Cosmic Salon behind the gate is we're really breaking down etymology, but not just breaking down etymology. Anyone can break it down. We're having like power sessions, Patrick Newland and I, and it's like you take a bong with us, even though I'm not doing that, but we are putting the word out there, we're looking at the etymology, and then we're kind of trancing into it, and where does it go? So it's kind of that pass the Ducci situation where we're just free associating and allowing that to happen, and then we're talking about, like you and I do, Keats, about how this is becoming a chaotic sigil that is entrancing people. So the not only is the language becoming inversed and contorted and misconstrued, then it's being weaponized from there. And at what point is it actually innocent? And at what point are we pushing intent into it?
I love it. That's the
Yeah.
perfect segue to
Well,
what
well,
Derek was saying, maybe the negative side.
well, there's the negative side too, but I almost wonder sometimes, because I'll be honest with you guys. I consider myself a progressive. Not just in politics, but in philosophy, in culture,
And you
and
do mean,
values.
and really, Derek, I hate to say I have to jump in here, but there was a
Yeah,
time when that meant there's a key to, I consider myself a progressive too, but it's getting twisted in the modern vernacular. So, yes. And that's
sure.
an example I just wanted to throw forward is a progressive person is now has become very contorted, whatever your intent is. So, sorry to interject.
Yeah, no, no, it's okay. I just was going to say that I am a big believer in inversion, in turning the meaning of words upside down. If anyone reads my works of fiction, I do that heavily in the style of writing that I do, and not just in the style of writing, but in the actual meaning of the stories. I do it even with colors, as Keats knows, with the alchemical colors of black, white, and red. And I can go into it further into my own work, but outside of my own work, when I see things happening in society where inversion is taking place, uh, I think that there is definitely a healthy thing going on. So there is definitely, I think I understand what you mean, Nish, that there is probably people in positions of power who are manipulating us or trying to manipulate us for merely evil ends. But I think that because of the way things are, with the way culture works to me, is so organic. The way it fluctuates and the way it develops is that there is actually, to me, a positive element to what's currently going on right now. And certainly there's a lot of superficiality to a lot of current progressive trends for sure. I'm not a big fan of the cancel culture or and other things, but there's certainly, to me, I think that there's some value to some of the elements to the cancel culture. But regardless of the ill intention of people in power who are trying to manipulate the masses, and then also in addition to that, despite the superficiality to a lot of the elements of progressive elements to current society, there's this other side to it, a third side to it, which I think is pushing, is an evolutionary process that's happening right now, that to me is positive, and I'm very happy to see, and I'm very happy to be at this time in existence, alive right now, and seeing it happen. Could it be a lot more? Hell yes. Again, I think that what a big dominant factor of what our culture is superficiality, and the internet definitely has big part to play in that.
Well,
And yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna
Go ahead.
say, and there's that parallel. I mean, we're talking about the metaphysical like endurance of self, and this is to me one of the like glimmering issues with social media and how it's used is the purveyance of success and growth without the actual elbow grease. And it reminds me that even in the political sphere, it's that people uh echo chambers getting incensed about things that maybe they're not you I mean, and I'm saying this purely objectively, but they're not getting the full scope and scripture of the truth in that sense, and they
Right.
start to parlay or purvey how they are uh figureheads of it, you know how everyone becomes a figurehead.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Well, I think there's definitely an element to democracy or leveling of the playing field, which is definitely negative. When you're
right.
giving voice, when you give voice to everyone, which the internet does, when you can basically everyone can become a celebrity, and everyone's voice matters. And certainly on the surface, when everyone's voice matters, that sounds like a really good thing. But unfortunately, when we hear people's voices who are, sadly to say, ignorant, voicing opinions without doing any amount of research or any kind of thinking or from any kind of real true deep experience, then it's unfortunate, because what these
Yeah.
people are doing is that they're really discrediting the people who have credit, who have some respectability, because they put in the work, they put in the time and the hours, and they know what they're talking about. So now
Right.
it's just, you know what I mean? And so that there's that problem, which with the making everyone seem like they're special, which everyone I think is special, but maybe not for the reasons that they think they're special.
Or
But
yeah,
this is, may I come in on this?
please, Niish,
So
go ahead.
one of the tenets I've always loved, and it's from the like I think it's the 80s or maybe 70s. I have no idea. I saw it of course in rerun the BBC series I Claudius, and towards
Oh
the
yes,
end,
loved it.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing, amazing, amazing. And if you can get a hold of that, you should watch it. It's worth every time, every minute you spend. Anyway, but Claudia
Yeah.
says, "Let the poisons hatch out at some point." And I paraphrase there, and I think that I've held on to that my whole life. I think that's such a powerful way to go. And so, with what Derek is saying right here, is very valuable. I think that people, we need this terrain to be diverse and varied, and people that are not, say, well versed but have a voice because of the nature of internet and social media need to be out there, as long as they're not hurting anyone. And I think it helps us that are doing that do our due diligence, and it provides one with the idea of, okay, is this really an idiot speaking? And I'm going to look up what they're talking about, and I'm going to find myself researching, like you do in college, right? Like you do when you're looking to find information. When you read a book and you go back and you're checking the sources there, when you listen to a great song and you want to see who's actually behind this song rather than the mill of who put it out, who wrote this, who is in the, who are the studio players, that I love that second guitar, who is that? And
Yeah.
so we need to be able to find ourselves looking deeper, and this is a lesson that we need. We get into trouble, I think, when all of a sudden everything's narrated for us and
Hmm.
scripted for us, and we don't get the choice of, and also at times the folly of following false prophets, if you want to go there with it.
Absolutely. And these are private companies that have private directives and incentives and ideas about things. I think social media has come. It needs to be a utility. It needs to be a public square and a true, like, utility, so but we're seeing what a select few people are draining for us, or censoring for us. So it gets messy.
I want to see all the voices have a platform, and I sure know where I've been pulled down crazy streams too, where I'm like, what is this person talking about? And I will listen. I will listen to about anyone. Everyone knows this about me. I'm a moderate person in the end. And I definitely don't have skin in the political game. I think it's all theater. I mean, I have skin enough where I know I have my opinions, but you don't know what my opinions are, really. No one does. I keep that actually private. And so I try to present a centered ground with everything when I come to a table of others. And because I've listened to these different facets and I've taken in this information, including the idiots, if we want to call them that, and whatever they are, on whatever side they are, wherever they are, the ones that are ill-informed and they're just puking up what they've heard from others. They're puking up puke
What
after
they've heard from YouTube channels.
right. And it's gone through that whole the whisper test. Like you start here with
Right.
a seed of truth and you go around a circle, and it's, those people, it helps us discern better. And in the end, that is a self lesson that one needs. We need to be able to fall down those traps. So we need to follow uh those those rabbit trails to understand and get a grasp of everything that's going on. And I don't like the idea of being too judgmental. I find that that's not self-serving for yourself, for the growth of yourself. And so, yes, there's a lot of stuff I find very distasteful. And in general, I don't like politics and I don't like politicians, period. And so I see that for what it is. And yet you're never going to see me with a pitchfork. You're just not going to see it. And so there is a greater lesson here, and this is part of it. And social media is such a great barometer for these tides. This is a social collection. This is a collective shadow.
A public square.
Yeah. It is a public square, and it's the outer space from everyone's personal inner space thrown there. So we're looking at this pit, really, and sometimes it's a clear, beautiful ocean where we can see the bottom and all the beautiful fish, and sometimes it's really dark and murky, and there are leviathans.
When I was in Britain, I forgot what it's like, Crier's Corner, or it's that park. It's in London, and everyone has their soapbox, and they're just yelling into the void. And people literally walk around and shop for opinion. And I'm like, that's fucking social media in a nutshell.
Right.
I always think of that when I think about social media. But you brought up a good point too, Niish, about the rabbit hole. So I always wanted to talk about the analog way of maybe before the advent of the hyperconnectivity of, like, say, when I was a kid, I used to have to go to the pawn shop and steal a CD I couldn't afford. If I liked it, I read the liner notes and stole those CDs until I got caught. You know what I mean? Like, there's that hunger and analog like search for things. And I wanted to know from both of you, do you feel there's an advent, or like a just a kind of a loss of that need for physicality and a literal search, when we can not literally search but Google search everything that we need?
Well, it definitely is a loss. Yeah. Oh, it definitely is a loss, for sure. I think that it's definitely, the physical world is the way we can get out of ourselves. And for me, having, I'm a counselor. I help people who struggle, as you guys both know, people who struggle with addiction and criminality, and they have to make big, serious changes. And I can tell you, like, from person to person, the people that I've worked with, and including myself and my own struggles, is that one of the ways that you can make that transformation, and a way you can make yourself a better person, is by being around other people and in the physical world. And certainly this helps. Having the connection like what we do here with Zoom meetings and things like that are very important. But it still doesn't replace the actual face-to-face experience,
Right.
the physical dynamics of being.
Tactile, of finding that dusty old book that falls on your lap, sort of thing. In a
Yeah,
yeah,
it's something that, for someone like me who is, I'm an overthinker. I can be stuck in my head for days, and I can go into really dark places in my head, and I know for myself that I can create beautiful environments and beautiful worlds in my mind, but I can also create dungeons and hells as well. And one of the ways that I can get out of those dungeons is to be in the physical world, and be in nature, or be in a
right,
store, or be around other people, talk to people, just get out of my head. And one of the ways that we can really grow is through that physicality. And it's one of the it's one of the sad things as a dad. I have a 15-year-old son, and it's an element that I see him, especially now, because he can't even go to school. He can't even go to a physical school. And so he's like stuck at home. And one of my primary things is, like, whenever I come by to see him, is let's get out. Let's go be in the world.
right.
Let's be, let's go for a walk. Let's talk. Let's drive here. Let's go there. Let's just be physical, because it's a real, we're in a process of losing that. And unfortunately, it's only going to get more so. And I think that there is a chance that it may not go that way, but I have a feeling that we're going to become more and more on the computer. So then it's more about adapting to that and evolving so that we can still retain our humanity while we're in this electronic environment. But I think no matter where we're at, whether it's in a desolate Mad Max future Earth or we're out in space, we have to find some kind of existence in the physical, you know?
Yeah, you got to share with it. And I know Niish does this well too. Niish, you're
Yeah,
very, like, I hate to use the term analog because it makes it seem
but it is
so.
true.
It is, yeah.
I will always love, and it is a seed of sadness in me to see us moving fully digital with uh extended reality with the 6G and deeper into virtual reality. And as exciting as all that is, because I'm not a hater of that stuff either. So don't get me wrong. I'm
I kind of
cautious.
am.
Well, I'm
I'm not a
cautious with
hater.
it. I think we should. I think we should move. I'm one of those people. I'm a Taurus, and I don't know what my Mayan is. And if Nevaeh is out there, I don't know what that information is. But as a in tropical, this Taurus energy is very cautious towards. I love change, but I like to make sure my toes in there before I jump in, and so
Right.
I don't burn
Nest
my
taker.
skin.
Yeah.
And I'm that way with the digital world. Although it's interesting because all the new platforms, everyone's like, come to Parlor, come to MeWe. I've been on all those years, and come to Steam It. I was on Steam It when it first came out. So I get on stuff. I just don't, I'm slow to start using them. And it's like when I move to a new town, it will take me 6 months to a year to actually get out. And so, as far as media and stuff I ingest, I'm the first person that will go straight. I never order, I don't do, my books are all hard copy. My my streaming of music is probably the exception.
Right.
And then I love, like Derek's saying, going out. I actually like going antiquing. I enjoy going to eat with my friends where nobody's looking at their cell phones and we're enjoying company. And you know this, Keats.
Oh yeah.
And
So half of what you're looking at right here is antiquing.
yes, absolutely. Right. Same here. And you know this. And
Yeah.
so I'm one of those people. It's like, if I could insist that everyone check their phone at the door, if I could get away with that, if I had a joint, let me put it that way, and I'm talking like a juke joint, you would have to check your phone in your computer at the door. That would not shop in there. And at my mom's tap bar in Marietta, Georgia, when it was still Marietta, Georgia on the square, she had no TVs. It was a live music bar and no TVs. So you didn't come in and we're watching sports. She really promoted people sitting at the bar and having real conversations. And then when the music came on, which is always bluegrass and blues,
Right.
they were interacting. And so it became like it was a hot spot. It was always written up in the Atlanta Times and all this. Because that was the nature of it. You didn't come in and start staring at a TV. And so I'm all about these organic connections to others. And this is what we need to balance out the digital reality we have right now. And unfortunately, I think we're losing that battle.
I think I lost the battle too, just as a record maker, as someone that used to print albums and do that. It became so above my pay grade to even be able to print media. The last thing we printed was the We the Hallowed zine a couple years ago, and that was just the overhead was insane. It's almost like they're pushing us to just stop, just put it all digital. Everyone wants to just look at it digital, you know.
Well, there
Well, I
is
think
an
it's
underground. Don't you both see that there's an underground
Oh, of
with people
course.
who want these great publishers are coming forward, and we all know this. And people are actually wanting vinyl again, and they're wanting really great books. This is why there are great publishers bringing forth great books now, and there's a genre that's rising out of it. And I think it's probably the undercurrent, but we're all three undercurrent kind of people. We're
Right.
underground type people.
I come from the DIY, aesthetic to the T, and a lot of that too had to be socioeconomic. And that's why I think it's funny to be of that ilk and be on the same playing ground as, say, someone that's classlit or of an upper class. And that's one of the benefits of, kind of reaching to other streams of consciousness with social media, that we have an even playing ground or a playground. Does that make sense?
Well, I before we jump into this, I want to go back to what we were talking about before. I think in terms of the economics of being in the world, I think that one of the things that it doesn't cost any money at all is just to be in the physical presence of another person, and just put the phone away and put the computers away, and you both make that agreement that, hey, you and I, or a group of us or a bunch of us, are just going to be physically together. We're going to be
Yeah.
here in this moment, and it's amazing. It's magical. I love one of the things I really enjoy about my job as a counselor is I do group circles with the guys I work with, and that's my rule, is that you guys cannot be on your phone, and it's beautiful. We're in a room together for an hour, and I like to push it longer than that, because you just see amazing things happen between people when you
Yeah.
just put electronic devices away, and
Well,
and that's something that doesn't cost people anything.
I got completely lambasted by the youth teaching wilderness survival stuff when they didn't want to know how to survive in the wilderness or take sit spots and meditate or do whatever, throw knives, even do archery.
Uh,
They wanted to get to the iPad, and I think that's what worries me more, is that
yeah.
yes, this can all be good if there's a balance. And I think, Niish, I think you have a good balance with social media. It's something I'm trying to find, because I find myself more of an introvert a lot of times when it comes to social media, because I'm worried that it's going to infect my brain with things that, I'm already the worst person infecting my brain. I don't need social media on top of that.
I found for me early on, I've always been an extreme introvert, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
to break the mold, or to break the meme that introverts, especially extreme ones, are not able to communicate. Now y'all know I can
Yeah.
communicate, and that's ridiculous. It just means you are drained. Basically, you're drained when you're out in public or when you're around a lot of people. You draw more energy from self rather than others, and so it's just an energy flow. And the internet changed everything for me. It did allow me to connect with others out in the world without having to go out and be drained. Now, like I said earlier, I love gatherings of people, being around people I love. I love intimate gatherings. So I like to go to the dark Italian type bars with the big booths, right? Where I'm in this
Right. Oh,
little,
yes.
where, you know what I'm talking about, the candles on the table,
Yeah.
a big
Right.
private booth, and it's so intimate and raw, and yet you still get the vibes of all the people around, but you're not on display. You've got a nook, and there's
Sure.
something just beautiful. It's almost sexy to me. And
Right.
so the
Oh,
internet has allowed, for me personally, to connect outward with people I may not have in my personal life. So I see the blessing of it, and I'm so grateful for it, and I ride that. But I have been sucked in. Don't get me wrong. I have
Oh,
been
totally.
sucked in, and I have been just as drained on the internet. And these algorithms are pulling us in. You can get stuck swiping all day through. This is why I left Facebook. It was one of the reasons why when I first left MySpace,
Yeah.
you can get stuck. I mean, it's like all of a sudden 12 hours later on your day off or something, you've been on Facebook. you know it's like, how did this happen? And so I saw that early on, and I decided to traverse that, because it is it's a powerful thing, and I'm not sure what the dynamic there is as far as what may be coming through. I don't know if there's trickery there. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if there's technology there. I just know that I have been pulled in. Where in the very beginning of the internet, I was thrilled to get music I couldn't find in my local stores. And
Oh,
as a music person, right? You couldn't.
nothing better. Yeah.
Right?
Or
It's like all of a
books.
sudden,
Yeah.
you have access to these things, and or eBay, when you can't find something in your local antique stores or at the auctions, and you can go
Right.
to eBay and you're like, oh my God, there's like 10 of them, and I've been looking for 5 years and I can't find this. And so these kinds of things have enhanced all of our lives. And yet at the same time, here we are enslaved as cultures around
Right.
the world that are accessing this. And now each of us is part of the Internet of Things.
Yes.
We
Of
are,
course.
as humans, now part of the Internet of Things.
Navier brought up a good point. She said, I hear you all with it losing its magic, but I also feel despair right now because virtual is what I've got right now. So I take that to mean it's what we got. We can make it better. And I think things like this, doing this now with you guys, live streams, these discussions, like this is kind of all we got as we verse the world, or as, we verse pandemics or whatever, or governments. So I do find the joy in social media as a means to connect. And like I said in the beginning, I said full disclosure, the answer is that it is both beauty and bane, you know.
right.
And for me, I came up with, I don't know if you saw this. Oh, you did, because we talked about a certain deity. But I had worked on a daily routine to treat, a daily routine as a magical practice. Everything, your offerings were your toothbrushing kind of thing. And you chose every day to do, or I chose every day to invoke something else. Pretty atmospheric, not like I'm actually invoking these things, but using them as examples, as deities that I would conjure for different, creative projects every day. And one of the things I did in this routine was carve out a time for social media use, because I do feel like if you can make the magic of social media, it's being very certain
Right.
and intentful about
Right.
when. And I want to know, do you guys do this a similar thing? Like, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, I definitely have to use it in a very intentional way, because like, well, if I don't, then what will happen is like what Nish talked about, where 12 hours go by and all of a sudden I just spent the whole day on whatever, Facebook,
Right.
Instagram, or whatever. I'm just, on it, and it's something that it's like, I think if you go into social media with an intention, like I'm going to go on, and this is what I do. I go on there after all my morning rituals. I'll go on and well, it's a ritual in and of itself. Have some oatmeal, drink my tea, and go and check my emails. Go on Facebook, go on Instagram, and it's always the same every morning. And I never want to spend a great deal of time on the social media. It's always just a very narrow window of time. And but it I can tell you that, like, for me, like when you're talking about joy, the internet gives me a tremendous amount of joy. I've created these friendships with the two of you that have been extremely nourishing and enriching for me, and in outside of the two of you, I've had other connections, and I've been able to um, basically get my work to more people, and
I
that
should
really is.
interject real quick. I met both of you in real person, like
I know.
one on one.
Yes.
Like, that means a
Yeah.
lot. It's not, you know.
Yes, I haven't met
So
Nish. I
sorry.
haven't met you in person yet. I'm looking forward to that someday.
Yes, it will happen. Well, I don't
Yeah.
know. We're in like lockdown forever, but it hopefully
Yeah.
it will happen.
Right.
Uh, but I agree with you there, both of you there. And what Navia is saying also, and that's what I'm saying, is that this is a valuable tool, and I don't want to see us lose it. I don't want to, and for God's sake, and whatever that means to people, goddesses, uh, I don't want to see it censored. And so that's
Yeah.
one of the things that's really kind of disturbing to me right now in culture, not just ours. Russia's now closed off, and China has been for a long time. And I want to see, I can turn away. If I don't like what someone's saying, I have the power to not listen. And I think
Right.
that that's a very important thing. And so it's like the world I grew up in, which is there are a lot of people in the world that just find me the devil, that just everything I represent they want to hurt and kill, and I just
Yeah.
stay away from those people. They still get that right, and so I've put that forward into my digital life. Like,
Yeah.
there are a lot of people, there's a lot of stuff I just find distasteful on the internet, but I don't want to shut it up. I just don't want to participate. So I look
Right.
away, and I find the people I sync with. And I find that actually really easy to do.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it doesn't seem like it's
It's
difficult.
pretty. It's pretty amazing how easy it is, right?
Right. But it's also, I mean, I think we've all been flubbed and
Well, of course, and
dragged and quartered by
well,
bad internet
there's
decisions.
There's, oh yeah. I mean, well, this has been another great lesson for those of us that are OG out, this was coming in. We all learned that stuff lives forever.
Yeah. Oh God.
So if you've got, you got a pussy shot out there or a dick shot, hello. Igor is not out in the world like that. I'm going to let you know. And, but Igor is in hard copy. I have done nude magazines and stuff, but, but not spread, even though
Right.
what? So now I'm valuing that. Like, does it matter?
Yeah.
Right.
See,
I mean,
there I
to me,
find
that's
myself. Isn't
Yeah,
that a
that
point there? Okay, so yeah,
yeah,
Igor's been shot. I've done lots of art in my life, and it's like, why would it matter if you can see my beaver open or not? Like,
yeah,
we do this to ourselves. You see how this is a mind virus? Where we come into
absolutely.
a value of something and then we create the value based on what we think others think. That's
Yeah.
I
that.
mean, oh my God, that's exactly how I feel about releasing albums or writing. You know,
Yes.
coming from a journalistic background, trying to be objective but excited about the things that I'm writing about, and then being put to the task if in years the things I'm writing about are declared, you know, unhealthy. Not that that would ever be a thing, but you know what I'm saying? Like everything is put to the task, always. And even records where you can hear my voice changing, you know,
Yeah.
since I
Yeah.
was a kid, from
Yeah.
Weasel Keats to like this Keats, you know, like
Well,
it's
that,
out there. People can dig it up and make fun of me. But it's fine. You have to have this. It's almost this let go. It's a perennial yearbook that you
yes.
just have to get okay with.
At some point, I came to terms with, and I talk about this a lot, I think of time as a tape. And
Yeah,
I know that there's that new age thought of what is it, Keats? The
the
Akashic,
stone tape.
the Akashic records.
Yeah, of
So
course.
it's
Edgar
when I
Casey.
was little, I kept thinking about time as a tape, that no matter what, everything was being recorded. And this is before we came into this reality we're in now. And so I've had this kombucha is making me belch. And so it's delicious, by the way. And so I always kind of
Mushrooms.
had that idea that what what we put out is somehow going to come back at us. And so this is a deeper concept, especially if we kind of wrap it in, maybe say something like a Jungian paper, where, yes, we're going to encounter ourselves in the outer world. We are going to do that. That's part of the interplay here between inner space and outer space. And so the shitty stuff I've done growing in my life, and the stuff that didn't seem shitty that I came back later and looked at, where I'm like, man, I was a real jerk there, and I didn't see it then. I see it now.
Right.
And so that with the idea of social media and the internet, it becomes more visceral. So you could have been a shitty person in 1950s to someone, right? In a relationship.
I
And there wasn't
was.
a digital copy. I know you were. But nowadays there's this digital track behind you. There's this digital tape. So you can see this stuff can be pushed back into your face. Well, here's this tweet. Here are these
Right.
messages where you were
So
being a jerk. And it's like, whoa, this is a whole different way to encounter your shadow.
you opened it up for me just then because I often talk about with an audiomancy and everything, like the need for linear magnetic tape and using stuff. Um, when video editing, they talk about linear and non-linear video editing. Linear means you're on a timeline that is infinite, but it is forward. So you kind of have to fit things within that. Non-linear is, well, I can subtract time from it, move things to the front, bring everything forward. You know what I mean? And we're living in an age of non-linear storytelling about us as people. That
Mm.
everything is being regurgitated or can be, or chastised from the future, or it's like, yeah,
Right.
you really made me think about that.
Well, it's definitely true in terms of like, when you're on Facebook. I know Nish, you're not on there, but you know,
Neither am I really anymore.
and well, they give you these memories. Like, remember 7 years ago, 8 years ago, this happened, and it's always interesting for myself and other people who are in recovery. And you remember back 7 years ago, 8 years ago, 9 years ago, you remember exactly what you were doing. You remember what kind of lifestyle you lived. You remember the drugs you were doing. You remember, and the heart wrenching ones are when I'll see a post of my son at a young age at a school performance that, and his mom was there and his brother and sister were there, but I wasn't there because I was out getting high and screwing up my life. And so Facebook will, innocently share this memory from 10 years ago of, hey, your son had this school recital and blah, blah, blah. And it just triggers the memory like, oh shit, that's right. That's what I was doing.
Oh
I
my
was
God.
staying up for 10 days straight and doing all kinds of stuff I shouldn't have been doing. And
Niish, I've been talking about nostalgia mancy. I don't know. I
mm,
think we've talked about this before. And
Yeah.
Derek, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Like you see a photo or listen to a recording of you years ago, immediately what comes flooding is the extremes, what's good and what's bad. If there's a way to use that nonlinear form of social media to conjure the best parts of every era,
yeah,
that could be
right,
fucking cool. Yeah.
You
right,
know, Derek, there's something funny is right, I'm not on Facebook anymore, although my one of my second life profiles when I was working a beta test analysis of what that is, eh, that was a deep psychological review of it. I had created a Facebook account because that's what people were doing. I really deeply immersed myself in to get a deep analysis of the process as we were moving forward to where we are now. And so that profile's still up there. And there was a reason why I modeled her. I had several avatars in Second Life, but I modeled my main one, Nish and Nishka, I think is what her name is on Facebook, after me. So, it's like the Second Life version of me. And then I had a doll and, like I think I had a dog and whatever. But the phones are doing this now. So it's not just Facebook puking up a memory from this. I got one that was a memory from last year. And ironically, it was for my mother's birthday. It was May 9th. And it was like, here's a memory of May 9th. And I was like, isn't this interesting? Here's my mama's birthday, who's been dead 2 decades. And here is, I guess, what I had put was doing all these videos. They're cute. I was camping in the van and playing with the camera. Another thing I love in modern culture. So having grown up in the analog world, putting together films was a big deal. We had to get money. There was all this stuff that was crazy. And Derek, you know this, how expensive, how many people it involves,
right,
all that. So in the world of today, it's so easy to create cool films and cool art. It's just all you need is a phone now. And so
right,
it puked up a memory from May 9th. And I thought, I loved it and I hated it at the same time. Like, this is really cool. Here's my mother's birthday this last year. And it started with a picture of her. Obviously, I must have posted that on Instagram or somewhere. And then me and the Vardo and, some cute music and books I was reading. And then I had this horror rush over me. Like, at any time, something could just, the algorithms, Uncle Alga, could go through the metadata and pull up me at this date and this time and get a glimpse through what I have at least put in there. But what about the stuff I didn't put in and didn't okay? That's, these devices are always able to mine us through audio and visual stuff. And that's all
right,
come out.
right.
There's no conspiracy there. That's there.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Yeah.
so this
Well,
is the dark side. That's the dark side.
Ooh, next segment, the dark side. Let's go, Derek. What do you
well,
got?
one thing I think I went and checked out MeWe yesterday, and
I'm on MeWe.
Yeah,
yeah,
you had
it
mentioned it. I only knew it because of you, Derek, because you shared the TED talk about the guy that did me
yeah,
we.
You
That's
guys
my
yeah.
find me over there.
Well, I don't know. I went over there and I created an account, and the thing that you were talking about, like in terms of our personal experiences, right? and I noticed like there is like this section on MeWe where there is like it's like you can list every single thing that you're doing, like what kind of food you're eating, uh, if you're using the restroom,
Interesting.
if you've got the windows open, or you've got, if you have a cat or a dog, or if you like, it's just like so much information that you put on there. I'm just like, okay, so MeWe is like the anti-Facebook, right? It's all about privacy, and it's all about, not using your personal information to
But
give to
that's absolute personal information.
I know. I'm like, wait, huh? Why do they want me to do that? It's like, oh, well, it's just for, just the people that you know. Like,
Yeah.
how do I know that?
Yeah, that's so
And
funny.
Yes.
In oh, go
when
ahead,
I saw
sorry.
it was free, and I'm like, wait a second, how can this thing possibly be free? And there's no ads. And so I go on there, and of course, it's not free. You have to pay for it, and it's a big, you have to, yeah. I don't know.
Derek,
I was
Derek, I have to piggyback that too. It was Eric Arnes who sent me the thing, I think last year or the year before. I said, come join. So I joined, and like you, I'm like, okay, it's supposed to be this basically open format where it's open source, like Linux, basically,
Yeah.
right? But it's not, because you get in and then just exactly what you're saying. They want you to verify, and then they give you so much for free, and then you pay. And I threw that right back at Eric. I'm like, Eric, this is, what are you talking about? You actually do have to pay over here. And he's like, I guarantee you won't use up all that. I can't remember the data. And I kind of just left it. I haven't posted it. I've noticed all of a sudden, I think there's some exodus from Facebook right now, because all of a sudden I have everyone sending me Parlor and MeWe invites to, come on. I think I have 15 friends now. And but there is that you do have to ultimately pay. And so I thought, this is trickery. This is bait and switch.
yeah.
Where there are other platforms, there's like Minds is, I've never had to pay over there, even though
Well, that's the Tim Pool one, right? Isn't that?
is it? Oh God, I'm
Yeah.
not a fan of Tim Pool.
Neither
Don't
am
get
I.
me
So
started on
hard.
that
I
one.
know.
I know.
I know.
Okay, good. I'm glad I'm not alone. I just can't bear him.
I
Is that
sent
really his
Jerry.
platform?
Yeah, I think so. I sent Jerry.
Oh
Did you ever see the CGI Tim Pool where he takes off his beanie and it's another mouth and he feeds it a hot dog?
no, but
It's
I'm loving
amazing.
it already.
I sent it to Jerry. I laughed for
I
a
th-
day. Yeah.
I think I'm leaving now that I know that's Tim Pool's, because I can't bear him. And I don't care
Dim
saying that
Tool.
out loud. I've said it on Nox Mente or the Obelisk
Yeah.
once or twice. I can't remember what.
You know,
Jerry was saying he
Who
liked
is
him,
he?
and I gagged.
Who
well,
is
it's
Tim
like
Pool?
okay, so Tim Pool, he used to be he's like my age. He's like an anarcho, or he used to be an anarcho like skater that started filming things and selling the video to news outlets, and then got hired by Vice as a journalist for certain protests around the world, and has just become a shill of a different color for
Uh-huh.
all of his income comes from a certain revenue stream of person and what they like, and it's just he's like kind of the biggest YouTuber right now in politics.
He's
Yeah.
terrible. He's a whiner, and yeah, it was. I had never really watched him. I didn't. I just saw all of a sudden everyone was talking about him, so I checked. I checked him out, because you know me. Like I said, I will listen
Mhm.
to anyone, and it was just this immediate bad feeling. I didn't like him, and so, but I didn't let that control me. I just kind of
Well,
eat that up. But then this is what I'm gonna say.
yeah.
I listened, I listened again, and I listened again. I stepped away, I listened again, and I, after having put in some time with him, made a hardcore hell no. I'm not having this man. I don't know where he stands on stuff. I don't care. I don't like his energy. And I know that
Yeah.
sounds new age, but I feel like he's a shill. And that's just my opinion.
I like journalism is my background. He defies any journalistic ethic, defies like it's obviously painted for a certain type of person or a certain idea, and like absolute shill. And he claims like, oh, I'm a journalist, I'm objective. And it's like that's we can talk about social media now about that.
He is
It's
not
not.
objective. It's all
It's not
opinion when you get in
objective.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's ridiculous and it's baiting and silly, But that's how
And
everything is.
huge.
I'm
What's he
not
have like
gonna
a
say,
million
oh,
followers? I'm
he's
already
crazy.
suspicious of that.
He's crazy. Yeah, and that's because the right's got money. What can I say?
So he basically does most of his. He's a YouTuber, but he's connected with Vice mostly.
He used to. He used to work with
Or used
Vice,
to
and
be.
then
Okay.
yeah, went on his own. I kind of get where he came from and the idea, but this talks to a bigger subject about social media and how we perceive people that are being proponents of quote unquote truth or objective journalism.
Right. Right.
We are like Niish and I are good friends with Thomas Sheridan. That dude is
I love
great
Thomas. Oh,
on
love
he's
him.
like, but he's still like troll and kicky because he knows that he's not owned. And I get it. I don't agree with everything he says, but man, do I
Yeah.
love him shit stirring.
He
He's
seems
one
like
of my
the kind of,
favorites.
he's the kind of guy I would like to. Well, back in the day when I would drink, I would love to have a drink with him.
Yes.
But I know I would probably disagree with about 90% of what he says.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's what we're missing is that, they fall into these categories of that they're these people and this person. Thomas, he's great in that he fluctuates because we're not meant to know who he is because he knows who he is.
Well,
That's all
I'm
that
glad
matters.
I'm glad you bring up Thomas Sheridan because I think he really personifies to me an interesting aspect of the internet. It's this aspect that um, people who are genuine, and I think he is, and have
Well, no,
opinions.
he's a shit kicker. He's a shit kicker.
Okay, right. Well, I mean, the thing is that in person, someone like him, his opinions would be, I think, I can completely disagree with you, man, and but I see you're like a decent, you're an all right guy. I like you. You could joke around. You seem like you come from a decent background. You're coming from a good place. I just think your views are way off from mine.
Oh,
And that's
absolutely.
cool.
Yeah,
But
it's necessary.
in the world of the internet, though, like so, for example, I was friends with him on Facebook, and I just because he has so many followers, right? The way Facebook works, I was just constantly seeing his posts on Facebook all the time. And it was always this very, to me, again, from my perspective, very conservative, to me, kind of reactionary, right wing kind of perspective on things. And I just got annoyed with it. And I'm just like, man, I guess, and he would sometimes in my Love Chaos group, he would make comments and post like his website and his different opinions and in a kind of somewhat kind of trolling kind of way. And it was just kind of like I had to defriend that guy because it just was just like it was just you see how so like in person I would probably like connect with him in a way or I would enjoy his presence. But on the internet where I don't get his facial expressions or his tone of voice or the way he expresses himself, all I'm getting are his opinions. And his opinions are really loud and just really just not my cup of tea.
Whoa,
And
yeah.
so for me, I just have to turn it off. And so I just.
But that's Derek. That's
the
what I'm
beauty.
saying is
Yeah.
that we can. He's completely. This is what I'm saying. We can turn away. So, and that's what.
Right.
Whereas
But,
I can't
yeah.
bear Tim Pool, so I don't listen to Tim Pool, and that's the power.
Yeah.
Tim Pool should have he should be out there, and he should not be canceled, and he should not be censored. He's not hurting anyone. So, but I'm not going to listen, and I'm not going to be one of the million people listening to him. I can't bear him. Thomas, I adore, and I understand. I feel like for me, with Thomas, there's so much Thomas says that I'm 100% with, and so I mean, who are we ever fully? We need the give and take. But Thomas is he's real though. I mean, he's not hiding behind he's not out there trying to get money from everyone. He's not out there trying to feed some sort of beast behind him that wants him to push something at you. He's
And
pushing.
he knows damn right when he's being a shit kicker. He knows
Well, he
damn
definitely has.
right.
He has a
Yeah.
shtick. I definitely feel like he has a shtick, and that it's a shtick that works and has a following. I feel like he feels he has to
But you're right.
continue.
I don't agree with him on a lot of politics. I don't agree with him on mental health. And when I had him on Pragmagick, the first time I made sure to talk to him about that. But that's what we're missing is this discourse. Doesn't matter,
Well,
like you have a different idea than you're a fucking shitty person. No, that's not how this works.
Well, that's what I mean, though. That I think there is like an art to social media discourse, and I feel that I think for again for me, a person like Thomas Sheridan is an older guy, and in his personal probably in person interactions with people could probably get along with most people, right, and can say whatever he wants to say, and it doesn't come across as loud or obnoxious or whatever. It just is what it is.
People come to him. Yeah.
Right. And so, but when you're online and all you hear is the opinion and it's just right there.
Right.
And you're not getting the person, you're not getting the human being. That's why for me, I really try to avoid posting about politics. The only time I'll ever talk about politics is primarily because of climate change. As you guys both know, that's a big thing for me.
Yeah.
And that my last book was about that. My ritual earlier this year was in regards to that. So I'll post about that. I'll put that out there in the public forum for discourse. But other than that, and maybe encourage people to vote, or I might do something about supporting Bernie Sanders or something. But for the most part, I really try to keep that to a minimum because I feel like that we really do lose our humanity when we get into these shouting matches about politics on the internet because we don't see the other person's face. All we see are the opinions.
You know what my favorite part is, and I can use this in metaphors, is joking with Jerry Cthulhu about how space is fake, while at the same time, like giving high fives to Michelle Embry about some anarcho punk shit. Like, I like it all. Like, I don't like it all, but I like everyone involved. It has very little to do with it being in this dark conundrum of, this is all I am. This is who I am. No, my entity is to listen and to enjoy and take. I don't agree that a bad choice is a person or a choice that I disagree with maketh the man. That's ridiculous.
Right. I have always felt, and I have always given myself permission to change. Yeah. I do not care how it's perceived. I don't care. I've never cared. And thankfully, my Momo gave me that. And I had, as a young person, people I enjoyed in the world that did that. And fortunately, I was always around great people that were in different types of business that I enjoyed in the entertainment business, because that's a lot of my life. So you get to see drag queens that were a different person all the time. And there was this kind of idea of, oh, it's this person, but now it's that person. Or people like, say, entertainers like Madonna, who is 50s this week, 20s this week, cyberpunk this week. And it doesn't, the chameleon nature that comes out with, say, thespians, which I've always enjoyed, is, I think, something good in the world. And we need that to understand that we can change and it's all right to shift and contradict yourself.
Oh my God, that is the biggest thing. Be okay with saying I'm wrong and be humble when saying I was right.
Yeah, I hope every day something takes me off of what I found conviction in yesterday. I hope that a new piece of information comes towards me every day that I hear and listen and incorporate into the collage that is me, and that creates more depth, more
A
patina.
mosaic. Yeah.
Yes. And so I become a richer person. And in the end, these are self journeys. This is a self journey. I'm not allowing the outer world to dictate to me anymore. Now I have, we've got to get there. You got to get there in life. But
Yeah.
anymore at this point, I'm in this for myself. And so the stuff that comes back at me, the stuff I'm triggered by, is clearly stuff I need to hone in on and look at. Like,
Yeah.
why is this bothering me? And then I have to, and we can separate, we can parse it out, and we look at it. It can sometimes just be idiocracy. Like, and you go and you tear something apart and it's just absolutely nothing. It's idiocracy. And that was initially what bothered me. And when I tore it apart and looked at it, that's what it was. Nothing. And then sometimes it's really deeply valuable. Oh man, this is a deep seated complex, and I need to actually look because now my shadow has attached to this, and I'm projecting onto that and having this interaction, the shadow, deep, unconscious interaction with something that's causing me a feeling of hate or detest, and where I want to get up and kick it, And so we need to really allow ourselves that space. And yet this is internal work. I'm not going to go out in the world and get nasty and violent. That's where things have gone askew here. This is
Yeah.
where it's getting crazy.
You're
Definitely.
absolutely right. That's, yeah, the toxicity of it's absolutism versus absolutism. And I will always
Right.
rally against that. Always.
Definitely.
Or as Derek and I have talked very deeply, the health of doubt and what you think is a militarized idea of the self. Like, it's a healthy thing to not think that what you think is forever, you know?
Or that you're right. Yeah,
Yeah, or that you're right. Yeah.
definitely. I definitely, that's one of the things I think that if people can look at their own ideas as it's it is something that it may be true or it may not be true. It's going back to Robert Anton Wilson and the whole embrace
Oh,
of the
yeah.
maybe, you know,
Yep.
and the word maybe is not something that a lot of people like to embrace, like doubt.
It doesn't sell tickets, Derek. It doesn't sell tickets.
It doesn't. No.
People don't go to to YouTube to be like, well,
Maybe. Yeah.
It's funny how hard these things can be though. And this is one of the things when we're looking at people moving through these processes in their life. For those of us that have moved through are a little bit further on the path, it is important to remember and give leeway to those that aren't and that are moving through. And I'm constantly these days being challenged by reminding myself that if I look at a 20-year-old me that was probably someone I may not like right now, uh, I have to personally allow space for that to happen in the world of people's growth. And this is what we were talking about earlier. Now that everything's recorded all the time, I think there are major movements in my life, major overtures where I would just be aghast if some of the rants I was on, some of the things that really bothered me were recorded, and I'm out there being crazy. And so it is, we have to allow that. There's so much mind control, and it's everywhere, and it's always been in the media, it's always been served to us. And again, these are things that people have to come to on their in the inner space. But I'm trying my hardest to allow people that space. Now, do I want to walk down the street and get hit upside the back of my head with a brick? No. And this kind of stuff I'm seeing on all sides of everything, because I walk a center line, are atrocious. And I don't know how we've ended up here where we are collectively, where this is the state of our world. This is the state of our collective unconscious.
Well, and I think, if I may, I think there is something to the word systemic. Like if you look at the etymology of the word, it's the growth of a system that is born into the thing that we're talking about. Systemic. It's dark and crazy, and it's really uncomfortable. It's really uncomfortable to realize. America is a hard country to really purvey as someone that's, hey, this is freedom.
It's not just America, Keats. It's all over.
I know. I'm just saying what's happening, and so I do understand. I understand the aisle, as a whatever cis hetero person.
Yeah.
I understand it. I absolutely get it. Like, people aren't listening. Shit is happening hard, do I agree with the way it's going? But that's not my place to agree with it. And I think social media has done a lot to that. It's done a lot on both ends to kind of weed people to either or. And I think that's the scary thing for me, was that it was never, I think when we're anonymous and when we're able to say what we want without any kind of notice, or to default on something that's just about being dark and angry, like
Right.
I think social media has had a lot to do with that. I really do. And I think about it in the magical standpoint too, in the occult communities. I mean, Niish, we talk about this all the time. It's gone out of control.
Yeah.
Out of control, with people that garner money because they know how to design a website better, or an Instagram has more followers,
Yeah.
And so, like, I just don't think there's a good and bad. And I don't think you do think that too.
No, you know that.
Yeah.
I'm center line with I really, really try to walk that center line with everything. It's a inner martial arts training. And as far as I'm concerned, it's part of my greater witchness, right? It's where I find that witchy power. And like I said earlier, when I'm feeling called to being, the word now is triggered, I really, really look deep within to understand why has a complex been activated, because that's what being triggered is.
Yeah.
And where is that? Is there a string here? Is there a puppeteer to that complex? Or is this something that was deeply seated in me that was part of the gameplay when I came onto this life, into this life? And so I really try to, sometimes I think I sound so Christian, and yet I'm not. But I really do try to give people that grace.
Yeah.
And there's
I
a
love
lot of people I just don't want to hear. And so, like I said, I exercise that choice. And what's concerning me now is losing that ability, where things are being tailored out. And I'm concerned now. I'm concerned with algorithms that are doing that. We're seeing that.
Oh my God, the censoring on YouTube is.
Yeah,
I think
it's concerning.
It's also
I think,
a private company.
One thing I want to say too is just in regards to, I think, what you're talking about, Nish, but from a different perspective. I think from coming outside of, say, the perception of or experience of grace and of compassion, basically what you're talking about, I think is extremely important. But there's this other element too, where we can find people, every single human being, absolutely fascinating. and that they're, regardless of whatever they may be saying or expressing or doing that we may think is hateful, or that is maybe hateful or is ignorant or whatever, there's something worth either enjoying or studying about everybody. Like every single human being is fascinating in some way, and I think that it doesn't mean we have to agree with people at all. We can completely disagree, but I like whenever I come across someone, so like Thomas Sheridan, for example, or somebody else who I have, in different degrees of of disagreement, I still find something valuable or interesting about what they're doing and what they're saying. I don't know if it's the writer in me, or the counselor in me, or whatever it is,
That's
but
a
it's
great
like,
point. Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
it's like every single person, whether you don't have to
I think it's the
buy their.
compassionate bone. It's the
Is it
compassionate bone.
compassion?
It's absolutely compassion.
Yeah,
You shouldn't be jurisdicted by acute ways of thinking about certain things that you're not really into. I think it's the compassionate bone. Derek, you are the compassionate bone. Like, motherfucker, you're compassion. Like, hands down. Like, what you do, who you are, like, I get it. I get that look into people that, yeah, I don't need to be jurisdicted about what their viewpoints are. They're human beings. And there's a blanket, a somatic reality that we all share, and it's nice.
right.
Yeah.
No, yeah, no, it definitely is central. I
Sorry,
think.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Yeah, no worries. That's okay. I think there's. I appreciate you telling me that. It's something that. Well, I'll be honest with you too. Though it's like whether it's as a counselor helping people, or in other areas of my life, there's a pleasure element. I think that has to be in place, and just in terms of really enjoying the different aspects of life. And I think that it's like you can, like, I can look at a work of art, and I don't really like the artist, right? Like there's a lot of American artists I just don't care much for, and so I will look at it and still find some way to enjoy it or some kind of pleasure from it, even though I may not agree with it or I don't like the way it's expressed or whatever. Um, and I think that can be same with people. So I guess what I'm trying to say is like, you know, it doesn't have to be all about like the spiritual aspect of grace,
Right.
the Christian thing. It can be simply like enjoyment, like an enjoying thing, a pleasurable thing, a studying thing,
A
learning thing,
social thing. Yeah.
a social thing of less like, and maybe that can help people from having like knee-jerk reactions to each other.
This this brings me to, I think, maybe the topic that we should probably close in, and being in this world of social media and the advent of cancel culture, can there be redemption? Can there be a pushback against what you were and mob mentality in social media? Niish, what do you think?
Oh dear.
Yeah, that's a hard one.
I think I'm gonna let Derek take that for a minute, and I'm gonna ponder that. I mean, of course, I can immediately riff off of that, but I think Derek, will you go ahead?
Okay, so so you just making sure. I mean, I'm getting it right. You're saying what is the how can we find the redemption
How
in
can
the
we find a
social media?
redemption arc in this parasocial relationship we have as a self that isn't really our self, that maybe posted something wrong, is taken as being us as people wrong, when really it's just a dumb tweet or whatever. And this idea of cancel culture, or when you're
Right,
losing jobs, or you're losing
right.
your will to
Careers,
being. Yeah.
right. I think well, it's an important part of our culture that we're going to have to take care of in the next certainly in the next 10 years, and beyond that, definitely, because because as we all know, what this technology does is it brings hypersensitivity to what everybody does, And so everything is we're so acutely aware of everything that everyone does. And of course there comes the judgment towards it. But I think that as the warts get revealed about everyone, right? I think that's the key thing, is that when we start to find faults in others, there's this desire to cancel them. I think that the redemption part of it is going to have to be is that we're all going to have to be a part of that process of being under the microscope, you know. And if we are going to be a part of that process of being under the microscope, then that means, you know, being willing to be vulnerable. And I think at the other side, at the other side of it, though, is the protective element, which is for us that work in magic, who work in our practices. We know how valuable and how important protection is, and how we have to do sometimes things in secret, how we have to do things that other people aren't aware of. So I think it's like a double-edged, for me, it's a double-edged thing. It's allowing the vulnerability to take place. And it's allowing that, you know, I've done some horrible things. Other people have done some horrible things. And then how we can grow from there is judging based on the entire picture. And that really requires people not being so knee-jerk reaction to everything other people do. As it requires sitting down and taking in the complexity of life. So I think that, you know, I think people need to be more vulnerable and allow their warts to show, and at the same time be more protective too. So it's just when there has to be moments when you decide when it's appropriate to be vulnerable, and it has to be appropriate for when to hide and to protect yourself. And I think when people can do that, when people can be more vulnerable with themselves, with others, from what I've seen, they tend to go on the attack less. You know, right? Yeah. The people who go on the attack and try to do the whole, you know, destroying another human being, their career or whatever, based on what they said or did in the past or whatever, their chances are they're not willing to share with everyone else all their warts. So I think if that can be kind of a general movement towards, okay, you know, we're finding out all these things. This person slept with a 17-year-old like 20 years ago, or this person, or this person said the N-word at this point in a tweet or something.
There you
like
go.
that.
Those are very well. Yeah, I guess they're not that different. For some reason, you said 17. I was like, oh no.
Well, I mean, I've been defending that for a long time because I was underage. Right. I was a Lolita, and my boyfriend was well over 10 years ahead of me, and I was like 16. This is separate from project stuff I got involved in early on. This was like by choice and consensual. And so I was well aware of what I was doing, and he did not know my age. I had a fake ID, and it was consensual. But by law, it would be bad. And I've got to tell you, he is the best person I have ever known as far as golden souls. The best. And
the capital K. No.
For real, a shining being. So we've got to take things case by case, and we need to always remember that. But one of these things that is really something we need to consider when we're talking about canceling is what is canceling? Cancel culture is repressive, right? This is repression.
It's oppressive.
Right. It's oppressive, but what it's creating is repression. Right. And what do we see looking through the lens of repression historically? We see big movements of how when you repress energy, it seeps out somewhere. It has to go somewhere. And so in the best form, it comes out in really great art, really provocative art, but that's just the best form of it. The worst form, it comes out in ways we're seeing it now. And repression is not a good thing for the soul on a journey.
Oh God, no.
It creates, and I like what Derek is saying here. Warts actually really applies, as kind of nasty and gross as that that brings to mind
Just in our feet.
Yeah.
just brings to mind.
Bunions. Just
Boy,
bunions.
my bunions are killing. And so, but this idea of repression is no good. And when we start getting into cultural repression and cultural oppression, we are going in the wrong direction. This is very dangerous territory.
Yes.
And there is lots of historical precedence for it. We need to really think about this. And that's what has caused me alarm looking at the state of the collective right now. And this brings forth a lot of the stuff that is not conspiratorial. Sadly, things get thrown into the conspiracy pot when you can go and track signatures down at your local government or at whitehouse.gov or at un.gov or .net, and you can see signatures of people. The stuff that's going on is not, it's conspiratorial. We're being conspiratory right now because we're in conversation talking about this kind of stuff.
I know what you're talking about. I don't know anything that you're talking about.
Social engineering is what I'm talking about, and this is where it's going right now.
Electioneering,
seems to be in a dangerous territory where it's really becoming more constricted. And that's what worries me. We need to become more open and not more closed off. We need to become more tolerant and not less tolerant. We need to let go of the past to move forward.
Amen.
I am not holding anyone accountable for the things that were done to my Native American ancestors. And yes, I'm super white. My mother was dark, and everyone can find those photos online. My mother looks 100% Native American, black, raven hair, the whole olive skin, everything. So people come at me and they see like the palest person they've ever seen with green eyes and ginger headed and all this, and yet there's my mother. And so we need to stop assuming by the appearance of someone, right? We need to get out of that.
I'm a Scottish Sicilian, and we all know what Christopher Walken said about Sicilians.
Well, my papa is half Sicilian, and so and Italians and Sicilians don't accept each other. Sardinians and Sicilians. There's this
Mary's an Irish Italian, and I'm a Scottish Sicilian. Yeah.
This is and look, we should
come together.
We are all mixed in America for sure. We're mixed, but we shouldn't make assumptions by what the optics are. And we need to at some point move forward. If it's not affected you directly or you're, immediately like your parents, I think it's a disservice to hold someone responsible for something their great grandfather did. Personally, how the hell is that working out? It's not. I'm not holding anyone responsible that came in and took the Sac and Fox people that were two separate tribes and put them together and then threw them in the Meskwaki tribe in Iowa. We've got to move on, people. We've got to move forward. And then with like this whole idea of reformations in America, this is a small select group of people, and it shouldn't be something that everyone's held accountable for. And if we want to go that route, well, what about Jews? The way that Russians and the Germans treated them in recent history. What about the Armenians? And what about, the Slovakians? I mean, we could go on forever doing this. Let's just look at this, acknowledge that this was all terrible, and move forward. Otherwise, we're never going to find a way to knit together something greater than this blanket of hatred we have right now. And here's my bigger point. It's being used against us. And this is where people are not realizing that this is all socially engineered. And we
Right.
need to observe that it's being socially engineered. And this is where, in subject to this conversation tonight, AI and algorithms and that platform, the digital reality, is now molding us, molding our opinions, molding our thought forms. And it's coming through in different forms in flicker rates, it's coming through in millimeter waves, it's coming through in the old school propaganda. And it's something we need to look at with a critical eye and with an eye of reasonability. And this includes people coming on scene, debunking everything. They're not serving any greater purpose. We need to actually sit down at a table and look at stuff realistically and talk like we used to do in person. And that's what this is, the folly of the internet has turned into. I can come up here and say anything and you can't do anything about me, and I can throw up any kind of avatar and you don't know who I am. And it's created a very sad sub reality that's controlling our reality.
One thing I think I want to say real quickly is just with regards to the social engineering that you're talking about. I think social engineering has existed throughout human history. I think we could look back at any culture at any time and see the efforts being made by people in positions of power to control their people through beliefs and through belief systems. And so what we're experiencing right now is the only difference really is the technology and the different avenues of how the forms of control and thought control are being exerted. But I think for me, I think also why I bring this up is that throughout human history, there is a tendency of apocalyptic thinking of end times. And I think one of the dangers that we can get into in terms of looking at what the people in power are doing right now is somehow worse than anything that's ever come before. Is the fact that there can be a feeling of hopelessness on the part of people. And I think that when we look at history and when we make the comparison in terms of what's going on right now to what happened before, knowing that humans survived in the past, knowing that human liberty or individuality or creativity could survive in the past, we know because of that, and we can judge on the current power dynamics and the social engineering that's going on right now. We can look at what's going on right now and know that we are going to continue to have human liberty and have individuality and have creativity. It's going to happen, And I think that it's one of the mind control things that we can get rid of, and I think it's certainly something that I really valued in Robert Anton Wilson's work is putting things in perspective, and when I was in the midst of a lot of my conspiracy theories, he really saved me a lot with his agnosticism and putting things in perspective. Because when I did that, and when I still continue to do that, I can look at what's going on and look at the people in power and what they're doing, and know that as powerful as they are, as much of a mastermind at what they're doing as they are, that ultimately they cannot control everything. Try as hard as they can, it'll just never happen. It's never happened in the past, and they have tried, from the Spanish Inquisition to Nazi Germany to Stalin to God knows whatever different times of human history. Humans have tried as hard as they can to control and to destroy other human beings, and there's been a lot of destruction, and there's been a lot of death. But at the end of the day, there still survives that human spirit, and I think that well, we can do it, you know. And I just wanted to see that in sense that I don't really feel that what's currently going on is any worse than what's happened before. And in regards to the social engineering, that's just how I feel about it. And when I do that, it helps me tremendously.
Niish, you want to say anything? Because
Well, I do. All I'm
please.
saying is that, yeah, I don't think it's any different. It's just at a different level now because of the connective factor with the internet. And as we've been seeing in the last year and a half now, Russia has separated, and this is recent. Russia separated its internet from the U.S. This was a big move. You can go look this up. China always did. I mean, there are VPNs and you can get around it, and everyone does. And it looks like the US is separating off, not to mention everything is censored and everything's going through fact check. And then no one's checking the fact checkers, and there's a lot of bollocks going on there. I will check my damn facts, my damn self. And this is what I'm saying with due diligence. We need to learn to think for ourselves and to do the research like you learn in school. This is a skill that people need to learn. You cannot have everything handed to you. Go looking, and don't just go look at the narrative script of the winner. Look at the loser too. Look at the side narratives to gain a broader perspective of a narrative. This is, I mean, if we listen to some of the stuff going on, you would never know that the Irish people were real slaves in America. And I have a lot of that stuff in my background with the Scottish side and the growing up in an Irish household. They were, and there's a great book out there, How the Irish Became White. And I mean, there's a lot of stuff we need to, a discerning person needs to come to, and just accepting someone else's word for something is never good enough. You need to question the world. And that's always been my one point. Always question the world. There is nothing wrong with questioning the narrative. This is only going to take you into more growth.
And question the narrative of yourself too.
Well, that's the inner work,
the
right?
World in the social media age, yeah.
It's more imperative now.
Yeah.
It's more imperative now than ever because everything's really being. I mean, now there are books you can't buy anymore. So it's equivalent to like the book burning and stuff. We're in very treacherous terrain at this point where, because of cancel culture, and I get it. I get that there's a healing that needs to happen, and it does need to happen, and we need to move into a balance where in between eons, we're going from the Piscean to the Aquarian, masculine to feminine, and the pendulum swinging, and we need to find balance. And so it's like more than ever time to really make sure we're looking at all sides and not just jumping on ships because we're seeing everyone else jump on a ship. And that's called a Jungian analysis. That's participation mystique or groupthink, and humans tend to be really swayed by that. And so it takes a lot of gumption. It takes a lot of moxie to stand your ground and say, well, why? I mean, I was literally that kid that said, what is the makeup of why the sky is blue? How's the color spectrum coming through? And I got BS responses from people until I could get into a class that broke down how that actually worked and how my optic nerve was perceiving color. And then I was like, okay, I get this. And now I understand it. Now I see what blue is. And now I understand why this plant is that color green. And so this is where, but what I see are a lot of people just regurgitating and regurgitating and regurgitating. And because of the nature of the internet and social media, it's out of control. And getting control is censorship is never the answer. And so that's what my message is here, Keats and Derek.
I love it. I love it. And if I can say, maybe in a slight bow that I'm going to tie with this, I've had the privilege of having both of you in different aspects and different conversations prior on the podcast. One of the last ones with Derek was about doubt and how healthy doubt is. The one with you, Niish, was about facsimiles and knowing when to fight against the people that are, facsimiled on truth. And I think tonight both of those beautifully merged. It was an incredible triangular idea of both those processes, because we should, let's not take shit from anybody. Let's always make sure that we're not an absolutist, but also, let's be weary of the Instagram witches.
the digital copies.
Yeah, the digital copies. Yeah.
Right.
I value this is one of the things why you are both people I just love so deeply. I value our differences and I value where we converge, the Vesica Pisces, as I always say, where we overlap. And we're able to have these beautiful moments. And we're all OG in a way, though, where there's in the analog way where we're reasonable people. And so, of course, there are things, we have our differences and we celebrate them within each other. Although I don't think we're that different, but as far as like, we're not dramatic.
Yeah. Well, I think I think when we were going back to the answer to how people and the internet can redeem themselves is that the relationship that I have with the two of you, what I really enjoy about it, and with the people that I interact with on the internet, who I do enjoy interacting with, is that there's not a sales pitch involved. And I think that so much of one of the really strong, to me, dangers of the internet is that everyone, their interactions with other human beings is predominantly based on some kind of sales pitch. What am I trying to sell to you, and what am I going to get out of you?
With that said, like and subscribe, everyone.
Right, there you go. and that's the beauty of human relationships, is that the what I'm going to get from you is the interaction itself.
Yeah, it means the most, and especially in this day and age. Like, I did have the pleasure to meet both of you and the somatic reality we all share, and it wasn't good enough. I both met you guys, not enough time in both. Even meeting Niish, and like that was like thinking to myself that this is what we get. We get to parlay until the next one.
Yeah.
If there's a next one, but we'll mine it. We'll figure it out. We'll fight for it. Like, I believe you guys. I do, and I believe that you believe yourselves. And I think that's the best thing I can say about anyone. I believe that they believe themselves.
Yeah. That's one, and I do want to part with this, is this idea of we do need to, I think it behooves us as humans, and we can go off into people who feel like they're hybrids. Of course, I think we all are. We are the aliens, but as humans, in the end, this idea of physical touch, of physicality, of being close, and our energetics actually intertwining. This is an important thing, and it's hard to do that digitally. And so I value those kinds of experiences, and they allow me this ability to know that in the end, I am not alone in the digital world. And when in my analysis of Second Life, it was so difficult. Who is everyone? What's going on? Who's behind all that? That does not happen. I mean, it does happen to some extent in real life, and but you're able to discern it really fast in person. In person, Keats gives off a very real energetic vibration that you immediately sense, just like everyone else. And so, there's an olfactory aspect, there's just the senses get around it. And so we know, like in nature, friend or foe, this is someone that I is on my side energetically, or this
Right.
is not. I'm going to avoid this person. And this is the danger of where we are now. And this is kind of the crossroad we find ourselves at.
And so we make do. Like that kind of the energy that you talk about with Nish, with Keats, is something that I enjoy through a text with him, texting him, or talking with him on Instagram, or a phone conversation, or doing this. Is that I think the digital will never replace the real, but
Right.
we can always make do.
Well, this is why this was so monumental to me, because I did have some reoccurring guests or like people that were on before when I was doing the liminal stream, because I wanted to check up and see how they were. With you two, I'm very privy, and I really just wanted to like be part of the triangle and hear what you guys are up to, or like talking about a certain subject or something. It's not that like, hey, I'm trying to figure out what you guys are up to right now. Like, I love the fact that I know, from what you guys tell me, what is going on in your lives. I think I appreciate that the most, and it makes me feel really honored that you guys share that with me.
I want to add one more thing. So, and Derek and I are a good example here, because I know you in person, Keats, and you know both of us. And
Mm-hmm.
Derek and I only know each other through our connection to you and digitally. And
Psychic
this is
threesome.
so, but it also, so this energy is transcendent, and
Mm-hmm.
we can, and this is a lot of times why I don't do live video, because I learned early on when I was that people can actually tap in and suck you dry. And this is a real thing, and I feel it. That's why you get me in, little in my music videos and all that.
Spurts. Yeah.
And well, I put it out there, and there's on my Instagram, you get to see me
Oh,
with
you're the best.
3 days of coal
Subscribe.
makeup, honey, where it's all I'm looking like a ghoul. But so we do tap into our our energy, our energetic fields. It's just a different way, and it's a slower process, I think, sometimes. It's more immediate in person, where we do get the olfactory. You can see how a person breathes
Yes.
and walks and holds space. And so when we're looking at it digitally or remotely, remote viewing, psychically, all that, it is a different imprint, but it is also a way. So I do not want to negate that. It is very important. We just need to find a balance, and that's where I'm standing here on
Yeah.
that. We can't give up the touch. We can't give up the physicality for the digital. And
Right.
like I started this whole show, I'm a middle of the road person. I'm at the razor's edge. I try to walk that middle line, and that is what I'm trying to do with digital reality versus what is this apparent real life.
Yeah. No, I love that. That means more. This is my way, in this weird way. I don't know why we've been so like privileged to be like, hey, let's just explore this in real time with other people watching, because it could happen either way. But I think that all of us as broadcasters and creators that put out really wonderful things, you two included, myself excluded, that we can figure
No.
out. No, I was fishing for compliments, Derek. Don't do it.
That's classic you, Keats. You are so funny.
But like, I love that. I was so excited for this chat. For prior chats, they were very much, very cerebral. or about taste, whether it's music, comic books, or movies, or something about the occult and what it is. This was like, no, I want to talk to two people that I absolutely adore, that I think do really wonderful things and have a good meditative outlet when it comes to social media. Like, and knows how to compartmentalize it so that it doesn't come at you, doesn't crump you, you know, is that can handle and digest it well. And that's what this all is about. And I learned a lot tonight. And
Well, one thing I think we know, Keats, is we can't do it by ourselves.
right.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. This is the raw. Yeah, that's why this is also ending on the love fest. Why I just adore you two so much is I've personally been able to get into deep interactions with both of you that are raw, soulful, gritty,
Yeah.
revealing, and there's a sense of real connection and soul searching that you both bring forward. And I think you both bring it forward in the way you encounter other people. I don't think that's specific to me. And so these are qualities you both have in the world. And that's the stuff I look for in other people. And so I'm not in the chat, so I don't know who's there, but so many people I've found that with. And that's when we started with this, the others. We
Yeah.
can find, we're finding the others. The others are out there, and we are creating a sprinkling of stars in the darkness, right?
Yeah.
I see your twinkle. I see your twinkle.
I feel it. And I feel it with you guys. You know, you brought up the chat. We need to address the chat. They've been so incredible. Um, God, I don't even know where to start. Well, I can start with Miss Michelle Embry. Thank you so
Talk
much for
about
being.
twinkle. We love Michelle, and with the sparkle,
We
she's
love-
always
and Navier, Navier Laura,
Yes,
yeah, Oswald
yes.
Spengler.
Oh yes, Oswald, of course. Oswald's everywhere.
But
Where is
I love him.
Oswald?
This we'll have to go into this another day. But when people thought a person had died, Oswald made it really cute, or not cute. It was actually really cool, like funeral march thing, talking about us on another stream, thinking this person had died, but it turns out Brandon Young's just a dick.
Oh, Brandon's always a jokester. He is. That's Brandon forever and ever. You always. It's all
Forever
satire.
and ever. I know.
Yeah.
We've been talking about a lot of funny comedy stuff, but Justin Partridge, thank you for
Oh,
dropping by.
I went to college with Justin. I
Oh,
hate
that's so cool.
Justin. I love
You
Justin.
hate Justin? Oh.
No, hey. No, Justin JP's my boy.
Yogi Chander, who
I love Yogi.
okay, I want to say that I had a really wonderful email from him. I guess you were his first guest on a thing, and he asked me to be on, and we'll
Yes.
make this work.
Make it work. He's amazing. Absolutely amazing. And when he came forward and asked me, I'm not snobby. I got a feel for him, and
Yeah.
I was like, I like his vibe, and when I've encountered him, he's fantastic, and what he's doing is great. So if you get an invite from him, definitely.
I'm always ready to talk about the rough and tumble.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know?
he's fantastic.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We went like 3.5 hours.
That's awesome.
I know.
Love that.
I know.
Jerry, motherfucker,
Oh my goodness. Jerry's out
It's
there.
Jerry
Hello,
Kafoo.
Jerry.
He's probably gone now. What is
Jerry's
it?
in and out. I'm sure we probably already bored him.
Oh, and Sixth Sense.
Yes.
Sixth Designs, who is just taking it under his wing to be, or she, I'm not entirely sure, but I don't want to misgender anyone. They've taken it under their wing to be a great mod for a lot of channels, and I really appreciate that.
I love everywhere I see Sixth Sense. Yeah. And because I don't always get in chat, but I've seen that person, and they post links and all that. I'm not looking, I don't see the chat, so I don't know who's out there, but that's a great moderator.
Helen Dion.
I don't know if I know Helen.
Oh, that's my son's mom.
That's right.
Oh,
I thought
hello,
so.
Helen.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, Ellen?
I think that. Oh, and of course, genocide. How could I forget genocide?
We love John.
How
Yes.
could we forget genocide? I love
Absolutely.
genocide. Like I've got a firm connection with that Pacific Northwest and
Yes.
genocide. Yeah,
This is a great chat so far.
yeah. It's been really good. People have tuned in, tuned out, made
Nice.
mention to say something. It's really beautiful, and I want to make an announcement that I'm going to take at least a week off streaming because I got to finish this audio sigil thing that I've been
Everything in
working
its
on for a
time.
few months. Yeah, but it's getting there. It's been really good, and I'm really excited about it. Like that's. Oh, and Genocide says R.I.P. Brandon Young. Yeah, and also Brandon Young's dead.
Well, you and your beautiful Mary. I'm trying to get this country song for y'all. I want Mary to back up
Oh, I
vocals.
heard it on your Instagram. I was
Yeah.
so enamored. I love it.
I love Mary's vocals, so and I mentioned it to you. I'm like, I hope Mary can pull because I've got a gnarly voice, and you said if she can pull up to your voice,
Dude, if she can make me sound good, she can make
yeah.
anyone sound good. So
I'm excited about doing a little country song with y'all.
I love it. Let's do it.
Nice.
Let's get a rock off. Or the chalks off.
We're gonna take it down south. We're gonna do a country song.
Dip it into some good. I do have a website. Thank you, Six Sense is so great with this. But thank you, chat. Sorry if I didn't mention you. Um, it's been incredible. I really appreciate everyone so participatory. It's been really fun, and
Nice.
I have two of my best friends here, two people that I look up a lot. So I put in the show notes if maybe we can do a little bit of what's happening next, Cosmic Salon or Love Chaos.
Yeah.
Niish, what do you got going on?
I have just an amazing lineup of people I'm editing right now for the Cosmic Salon. And I want to state that my goal with the Cosmic Salon is I'm casting a wide net like Jerry and I do with our show. And I'm bringing a lot of different viewpoints. So I don't want to get pinpointed into one thing or another. I'm bringing
I love it.
woo across the board from left to right to the middle to up to down. I mean, I've had a good reverend on there and Eastern people. So that's what the Cosmic Salon's about. And then behind the gate, we're working with etymology and what would be in a live show call-in stuff I call wooed. And and so as with the opening on Cosmic Salon, it's keep an open mind and let's go on a journey.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping to I want Michelle Embry said she would come on. I want her, Navier. I have so many, I've already had Derek, who's so popular. Oh my God.
Oh, Derek was popular over me.
Yeah, yes, actually, Keats. Yes, on the analytics, Derek's went boom. I had a lot of women.
Of course he was.
Because I talked about sex the whole time. I think.
We did talk. Well, and this is funny. Derek doesn't know this, but I had a few women ask me about him. They're like, "Who's the sexy man?" And I'm like, "Oh, hey, girl."
That's awesome.
Do they live in LA?
No, none of them are in LA, but you did. It
but
was
they
like.
Will be.
You're right. It's possibility. So yeah, the Cosmic Salon's my baby right now, and so that's just keep an open mind.
It's highly like you take so much care with the production of it. It's really wonderful. You were made to broadcast. It's honestly like a talon from your heart.
I'm proud of it. It's taken a long time to get there, but I'm very proud of it. So thank you, and thank you for both being on there early. You helped. Your wind for me, and the wind is a great thing. It's a friend.
Yeah. Well, turns out Navier didn't give me the proper. I forgot what she called it. The future Mayan thing. I actually am wind and not the sun. So.
Oh, I don't know what mine is yet. I heard though I didn't listen to the show with Navi and you yet because I'm so busy. But I heard
it's so much fun. Mary came
cool.
in. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a cool episode.
What was I? Because Navier said I was something. She apologized for not telling me in person, of course, because she's a dear heart.
Well, she said it was connected to your actual, like the Taurus thing. I don't know what that means. So bull. I'm just kidding.
Oh, I'm a bull. Something. See, I don't know anything about it, so
Bullshit.
I have your tab up with her still
Navier.
to
No,
listen.
no. I want to say this. Navier is like in the chat going, Keats, I had too many charts. She did. She had a whole thing. It wasn't her fault. It wasn't like a misreading. She talked to me afterwards and said, like, hey, I got it wrong because, she's got integrity.
Nobody better be hating on Navier. They have to get past me first.
Oh, me and Mary made us, son. That's awesome.
I got Navier's back.
But yeah, I want to make that clear. Like, it's not like I have to like delete the video and be like, oh well, she was a liar. It's like, no, it has nothing to do with that. She's incredible, and that was the most fun I've had with Mary on a live stream, I think, ever.
That was a really cool episode. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was great having her on. She should jump on more often.
Dude, Navier's the shit. I love her. We talk a lot on Instagram.
She's amazing.
She's the best. She really.
I meant, well, yeah, she is amazing. I meant Mary. Mary should jump onto your show every.
Oh yeah.
Okay. She, I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, just that's Mary. Yeah. Not only is she gorgeous and can sing and is the backbone for everything you do,
and is the best thing in the world. No, she's the front bone. I'm the backbone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's not get it twisted.
That's right. Better recognize up in here.
Yeah. No, I don't want to live in that world. But Derek, Mr. Love-Chaos.com, wonderful Facebook group that you have, Love Chaos. What else you got, buddy?
Well, I'm really in a transitional period right now. I'm really, as you know, I've told you privately, but I'm transitioning away from Love Chaos nonfiction books into going back into writing my fiction work.
Oh,
and so so I'm really but it's a transitional thing, and so I'm fortunate. I had a really great conversation with Greg Kaminsky on a cold personality, and
I'd love to talk with him.
Yeah, I'm very very excited to hear that episode when it comes out. And so we jumped into my most recent book, The End of the World, and talked about that at length. And so that was really great. And some other future interviews are coming up regarding that book, and that's an important sort of process for me, as I put that out there in the world. And that kind of, in the process of that, doing that and putting it out there, then that kind of, in a way, fading away, so that I can go back into focusing on my storytelling.
Right.
And I have a second part of my trilogy that I'm working on right now, which is a book called White. The first book was called Black, and then the third book will be Red. And
I love that.
It will be it again, all part of my process of inversion. I'm taking these old stories, the story for the quest for the Holy Grail, specifically Parzival, and inverting that story, as well as Dante's Divine Comedy and the Dr. Faustus legend. So all three legends I've inverted in a new way. And so that will be a trilogy I'm finishing up in the next couple of years. And then right now I'm also in the beginning stages, which is I've been researching a book that I'm going to be writing. Really have been in many ways researching this book since my teens. As you both probably have noticed, that I have a passion for Shakespeare. And so after I'm done with this trilogy, I'm going to be writing a fictional biography.
Who?
Yeah.
Who?
And so that guy, well, and that's the whole thing, is that it's going to be the true author. It won't be William Shakespeare from Stratford. It'll be the real author. Ooh, so I'm going to be writing a book about that. And it's been an obsession of mine, and I feel that I've been hounded by Shakespeare all my life, and it really needs to be turned into a book, and that will be a big project for me. I'm going to seek the biggest possible publisher for that book, and we'll see where that goes. But the next couple of books will be independently published, like all my books have been. And they'll include, I must say, it will include the beautiful paintings of my friend and mentor, Eric Fiazzi. All of the paintings on my website and the covers
Beautiful
to my
stuff.
books. Yeah, the guy is a genius and really completely underappreciated in the art world. And really highly recommend people check him out. His name is Eric Fiazzi. And so, like with my first book, it'll include 13 full color paintings by him in the next two books. Each book will have, and if you look at the cost for these books, that's why they're pricey. They're really, I tried to get the best image quality possible for his paintings. They're beautiful, and I wanted to have that. He deserves it, and it really works well with the stories. So that's what's going on with me.
I admire how dedicated, devoted to your practice you are, Derek. It is amazing, and it obviously shows a love for what you do, and that comes through.
Thank you, Niish. Thank you. And
Niish, both of you are two of the few people that I've met that actually purvey what they are in person at all times. At all times.
Like, feeling
are what they say they are.
Yeah.
We've got our love fest up in here. This a love bun.
Yeah. I've told you guys before, and I'll keep on telling you. I love you both, and if, I do want to say this too, is that regardless of our friendships, I think that if I didn't know either of you, I would enjoy both of your works. It's something that I think when you do something with passion, as you both do, with integrity, as you both do, with intelligence, as you both do, it stands the test of time. And I really feel that the three of us will stand the test of time. I think that we stick to our guns, and whoever does that, whoever sticks to their guns, really finds the reward in the work itself, and then I think in the long run as well.
The pearl. Yeah.
Yes. This is what binds us in such a beautiful way. And we do move forward. This is how we find a taste of immortality in the work we do, even if it all falls away and say the earth turns to dust. This is our creative outlet. Our energy, our creative energy is in the end what we gift to the collective. Whatever form it finds, it's energy out there.
Right.
Well, we found each other, and like I said in the beginning, this is the first trifecta liminal stream. Everyone has a complete component for every point in this triangle. I love you guys so much. You both are incredible. Huge fans of you both. I do want to say that this is the last one, maybe for a week or two. Just so I can, I'm sure I've already said that. But just to reiterate, this is my kind of send off on a high note, because I've been doing these weekly for the last 5 weeks.
Right.
I'm proud of you, Keats, for doing that.
Thank you.
You did a great job, Keats.
It's been a different angle of self. Absolutely. We were talking about this earlier before we were on screen, that like just the research and the gumption of being on camera, and it's a funny ideal of a pursuit. And
yeah.
I appreciate it. I've been surrounded by friends along the way. This is great. I'm going to take a week off because I've got a very important, huge project to finish, which Niish and Derek are both a part of.
I'm very excited about it. Very excited.
And Michelle
and Michelle.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
my
And
God, I
Carl
love Michelle's piece.
Abrahamson, Dr.
Right.
Vanessa Sinclair,
Right.
Tom Winston.
Yeah, it's a powerhouse. But Michelle's
yeah.
was a highlight in there for
Oh,
me
she's
when I
the
was
best,
listening
yeah.
through. Oh my God.
So good.
Oh,
So I
Jesus.
cheated and I showed them all the
Yeah, we got to see behind. But I mean, anyone that knows Michelle has encountered her work. The passion, my
so good.
God, this woman is intense.
And Callie, it was Callie too, I think.
Was it? It was the
Yeah.
two of them, right? I can't remember. It was just intense. It was so good.
It's really good. All of it's good.
Nice.
It's a huge undertaking because me, a friend was joking with me earlier today, and they're like, "Oh, Keats and Scope." I was like, "Oh, I feel seen." That it'll get done. I just not as quick as I thought it would. But it's going really well. And if you've watched the last liminal streams, I've showed segments of it.
Yes. Beautiful work, by the way, Keats. I love it.
Thanks.
Really great music. Yeah.
It's exciting, isn't it, Derek?
Yeah, I love it, and I love the way he uses it with the video, with the visual.
I feel like a kid in high school where you're like, is my music cinematic? And you put it to cool videos, and you're like,
Right.
Yeah, it works. Yeah,
it definitely works.
So there's something very like I don't know, fun and perennial in the youth sort of way, about it. I'll just sequence it with shit that I'm gonna get copyright struck with. But anyways, I love you too. I do want to close out. So I did have a couple options for a new audiomancy. However, a dear friend who I consider in the same realm as you, Derek, and you, Niish, is Douglas.
Yes.
From What Magic Is This?
He's great.
And it was his birthday yesterday.
Oh, it was.
And it was a new moon.
Yes.
And he gave me, back in the day when I was trying to branch out of myself and experiment with things with audiomancy, gave me a hymn to Celine that I ended up orchestrating and writing a little guitar part for. So I thought, in lieu of his birthday, in lieu of the new moon last night, we could go out on that.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Definitely. Yeah, Douglas is a great guy. I've been communicating with him on Instagram recently, and finding he's not only super smart but a good dude.
He's a good dude. Everyone here is a good dude.
Even
I don't know if that's gender specific.
I'm all right with it. I'm settled, and Igor's fine with that.
Igor's fine. Yeah,
Igor's a dude for sure.
So he sent me this when I was looking for mood magic when things were really hard, and this was in May. And I compose how I do things. I compose music to it, or I do something creative with it. And I sent it to him, and I put it on YouTube. But like I said, the new moon was last night. It was his birthday. He's done a lot for me. I love Douglas. I love you guys, and I just want to celebrate y'all. So
let's do it.
We're gonna do it.
Nice.
All right. So this is just a test of an original composition to the Orphic Hymn of Celine. Thank you to Douglas of What Magic Is This for giving me the idea of wanting to experiment with something outside of my diverse, kind of weird, anarchic magic, and try something for the flower moon tonight. And Douglas, brought up the idea of singing or, chanting an Orphic hymn, and of course my inclination is to kind of write something to it. So, excuse me, like the farmer's tan. Anyways, yeah, so I'm gonna give this a go. I literally just wrote this, just small guitar part. Just want to hear how it sounds. See if I can do this. as you race with night. Nocturnal torch bearing, maiden of beautiful stars. Oh, waxing and waning, feminine and masculine, lover, luminous, lover of horses. Ooh. Mother of time, bearer of fruit, amber color, moody, all seeing in vigilance. Surrounded by the beautiful stars. You're a delight. You're a delight in the quiet. You crave fulfillment and a favor. As like a jewel you shine in the night. Long gloves, marshal of the stars. Wise maiden whose motion is circular. Come, oh blessed, gentle lady, shine and save, oh maiden, your new initiates. Oh. Shine and save, oh maiden, your initiates.